I didn't call the police. I bought shares instead because I knew exactly when their stock would explode. They thought they had time to find the inheritance, but I already knew where it was buried. I died on a Thursday. No warning. No dramatic last words. Just the faint, bitter taste of almonds in my coffee. And the quiet realization that the man sitting across from me wasn't surprised. Caleb didn't panic, didn't call for help, didn't even stand up when the mug slipped from my fingers and shattered against the floor. He just watched me, calm, still, waiting, like this moment had been scheduled, like my death was just another task on his calendar. I tried to speak, tried to ask why, but my throat wouldn't work. My vision blurred, my hands went numb, and when I hit the ground, the only thing I could see was him, adjusting his cufflinks. Perfect, controlled, untouched. Our eyes met, and when he realized I understood, he smiled, softly, relieved. "I'm sorry, Evelyn," he said almost gently, "but you were never supposed to find it first." Then everything went dark. I woke up screaming, not gasping, not confused, screaming, like my body still remembered dying. I shot upright in a narrow twin bed, my heart slamming against my ribs like it was trying to escape. The air felt wrong, too light, too clean, too young. Sunlight streamed through cheap floral curtains. A fan clicked lazily overhead. And somewhere downstairs, my mother was singing. I froze, because my mother had been dead for nearly a decade. Slowly, carefully, I looked down at my hands. No ring, no scar, no trembling weakness from poison. Just smooth skin. 17-year-old skin. I stumbled to the mirror, and there she was. Me, 10 years younger, 10 years before the marriage, before the company, before the betrayal, before the murder. It took hours for the truth to settle in. Not panic, not confusion, just a slow, terrifying understanding. I hadn't survived. I had been given a second chance. And suddenly, his last words made sense. "You were never supposed to find it first." My grandfather, Arthur Laurent, wasn't just wealthy. He was powerful. The kind of powerful that built industries, influenced governments, and made enemies quietly disappear. But to me, at 17, he was just the distant old man my mother refused to talk about. She said he chose money over family, power over love. So I stayed away. I didn't visit, didn't ask questions, didn't care. And that ignorance got me killed because hidden somewhere inside his estate was something worth dying for. An inheritance no one knew about. A will that changed everything. In my first life, I found it by accident. Too late. By then, Caleb was already in my life, already charming, already trusted, already close enough to make sure I wouldn't live long enough to use it. But this time, I knew. And more importantly, I knew the future. I knew which companies would rise, which would collapse, which would make fortunes overnight. And most importantly, I knew Laurent Biotech would become unstoppable. The same company tied to my grandfather's legacy and Caleb's family. Because Caleb wasn't just some man who fell in love with me. His father, Richard Hale, had been my grandfather's closest friend. Trusted, respected, practically family. Until money got involved. Richard had spent years inside Laurent Biotech, watching it grow, waiting for his moment. But when my grandfather hid the true inheritance, everything changed. Because suddenly, Richard wasn't next in line anymore. I was. And Caleb? He wasn't my husband by chance. He was placed. So this time, I placed myself first. At 18, I started investing. Quietly, carefully, every dollar I could save. I didn't need luck. I already knew what would happen. A small tech company would explode in value. A market crash would wipe out competitors. A pharmaceutical breakthrough would send Laurent Biotech soaring. So, while everyone else guessed, I executed. By 19, I had money. By 21, I had power. And by 23, I had shares in the very company that would one day sign off on my death. Then Caleb walked back into my life, just like before. Same charity gala, same confident smile, same calculated charm. "Evelyn," he said, like we were destined to meet. "I've heard so much about you." I smiled, because this time I had heard everything about him first. I let him stay, let him take me to dinner, let him think he was winning. Because the best way to destroy someone like Caleb is to let him believe he's in control. Meanwhile, I found the inheritance, early, years earlier than before. The greenhouse, the cracked stone planter, the dead white roses, and beneath them, the truth, a sealed box containing everything. The real will, control of the company. Proof that my grandfather never trusted Richard Hale to lead. Proof that everything Caleb's family had been working toward was never theirs. I didn't celebrate, didn't confront them, didn't run. I invested. When Laurent Biotech's scandal hit, I bought. When the stock crashed, I bought more. When everyone panicked, I took control, piece by piece, share by share. Until one day, they couldn't ignore me anymore. The boardroom was silent when I walked in. 12 men, one legacy, and me. Richard Hale went pale the second he saw me. Caleb didn't move, but his eyes, they gave him away. Because for the first time, he didn't understand what was happening. I placed the documents on the table, calm, steady, certain. "You've been looking for these," I said. "It's funny what you find when you already know where to dig." No one spoke. No one dared. Richard stood slowly. "You don't understand what you're interfering with." I met his gaze, cold, unshaken. "No," I said. "I understand exactly what you tried to do." The room shifted. Power doesn't disappear all at once. It cracks. And I could see it, spreading. The investigation buried them. Fraud, bribery, corruption, years of quiet crimes dragged into the light. Richard Hale was arrested first. Caleb followed. He asked to see me. I shouldn't have gone, but I needed to. Closure isn't about forgiveness, it's about truth. He sat across from me in a prison uniform, smaller than I remembered, less untouchable. "Did you ever love me?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "You were never supposed to outplay us." Not a yes, not a no, just the truth. I stood, turned to leave, then paused. "You killed the wrong version of me," I said. And this time, I meant it. I didn't just survive. I won. The company became mine. But I didn't run it like they would have. No secrets, no hidden betrayals, no quiet deaths disguised as accidents. Because I had already lived that ending, and I refused to become it. Sometimes I still remember the taste of almonds, the cold tile floor, the moment I realized the man I trusted most had already decided I was disposable. But now, that version of me is gone, buried, just like the future they planned. They thought they had time to destroy me, but they forgot I had already lived long enough to destroy them first.